We're back, and it's time to look at the AFC South, the juggernaut that it is. Rise, repeat, or retreat. We've done this for a bunch of divisions. Check it out on YouTube. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out in the app. We're everywhere. Make sure you check out some of our other divisions as we predicted. And here's the for anyone new, where we are with this is the way you felt about the team a year ago versus how you feel about the team right now. Are you higher, the same, or lower? So rise, repeat, or retreat in the overall feel from a year ago versus now. Let's start with the bottom of the barrel. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who went 4-13 last year, by the way, over under on them 7.5, kind of a beefy number. C-Rob, rise, repeat, retreat versus where you were a year ago right now on the Jaguars.
I think rise. I really do. I think two things. Number one, I think seeing what Liam Cohen did in Tampa with that offense, with Baker Mayfield, with the running game, I have some confidence that I think he can get it humming in Jacksonville. There's talent there, by the way. There's clearly wide receiver talent between Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. I still think it's a backfield that has plenty to offer between Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. I still think there's a chance that there's a corner to be turned with Trevor Lawrence. Now, I think it doesn't happen at this point with Liam Cohen, his third head coach now. Probably is good. This is just who Trevor is and who he's always going to be. But I think offensively, I feel pretty good about what I think Liam Cohen can do there. I know it's been kind of weird start and the whole, this press conference. But even that, to me, I'm like, you know what? The last couple weird press conferences, like Dan Campbell's was a weird press conference.
Yeah,
Sirianni was a weird press conference.
Campbell, you're right. Dan Campbell was too, yeah.
I mean, those were weird. We thought they were super weird. And it turned out to be exactly what the organization ultimately needed in terms of the mentality that those guys brought onto the field. So I think if Liam Cohen can, especially from an offensive standpoint, replicate what he was able to do in Tampa, I think there's a lot of juice to the squeeze for the Jaguars. So I actually think they're a rise team.
Every year, basically, recent memory, we've seen a first-year head coach take his team to at least the playoffs, usually a division title, and win Coach of the Year. I think that's the Jaguars this year. I think Liam Cohen is going to be your NFL Coach of the Year. I think Jaguars win that division. We'll talk about the Texans in a second.
Woo!
Because I just think the pieces are in place. Like you talked about, Trevor Lawrence, this is it. Like, if you can't do it now, you're never going to do it, but I think he can. Brian Thomas was awesome last year as a rookie. You put him with a Travis Hunter who just won Heisman, he's going to play primarily receiver. I think there's a lot of juice to that offense. They drafted Tootin, who I think could be a good running back for them as a rookie late in the year, like Bucky Irving last year when Liam Cohen was coaching him. Bretton Strange, all the reports on him is that he's ready for this tight end one role, so I think he fills in just fine for Evan Ingram. I just think Doug Peterson the last couple of years, actually since the Super Bowl, let's be honest, I think Doug Peterson was just, I don't know what it was. There was nothing there. It was just kind of going through the motions and he wasn't doing it. I think Liam Cohen just brings a different energy to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence does have kind of a breakout-ish season with these two unbelievable receivers he's throwing to. I'm not impressed with the Texans after what I saw late last season. So definitely a rise for me at the Jaguars. I think is one of your surprise teams in the NFL this year.
I will go repeat on the Jags, by the way, because a year ago I didn't think they'd be terrible, but I didn't think they'd be great. I still don't think they're going to be terrible or great, and I don't know that I share y'all's excitement for Liam Cohen. I'm going to be honest about that. Like, I'm in a wait-and-see mode for Liam Cohen, so I'm a little bit, and I'm in a wait-and-see mode for the explosion of Trevor Lawrence. So maybe I'm jaded by the fact that every year I've been sort of on the, the Jags will be pretty good, and they haven't been. So I'm sort of repeat. Where are we on the Titans, the worst team in football last year, obviously, with the number one overall pick? Over-under from Vegas on the Titans at 5.5. I don't think, though, if we're being fair, a year ago right now, most people thought the Titans would be the worst team in football. So compared to where we were a year ago, C-Rob, are you rise, repeat, or retreat on the Titans?
I think it's repeat, but I think there's going to be a different tone to it because I think Cam Ward is going to be the light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's going to be a lot of struggle. I think there's going to be a lot of bad stuff that happens. I don't think the team all of a sudden cohesively comes together the way the Washington Commanders did with Jaden Daniels. I don't know that Cam Ward can do that. It's so rare to see a guy step in and just completely transform an entire roster that really should not have been going deep into the playoffs roster for the Commanders. And, Daniels did that. I don't think Ward replicates that. Now, that said, I think Ward plays well enough that Titans fans are like, this sucks. We're going to have another top pick next year, but we do have the quarterback we need. That's resolved in our minds. We'll see if Brian Callahan survives. If Cam Ward has the growth he needs, I would think ownership would not want to then take away his offensive-minded head coach from him. We'll see. That'll be something that will play out over the course of the season. So, but I still think they're going to be a pretty bad team next year.
Yeah, I'm Rise on this team, but to an extent, I don't think they're going to win a ton of games. They're not the 2023 Texans. They're not the 2024 Commanders.
Do you think
they're not going to the playoffs?
Where are you on the over/under? 5.5. Where are you at?
I can see them getting a 6. I mean, just because
Really?
there's soft spots in their schedule, and but it's going to be close. Like they might win 5, they might win 6. There's going to be some coin flip game in there that determines it. So I don't think they're going to be good, but I do believe in Cam Ward. And like you talked about, Charles, I think they get to the end of the season and are like, we got a dude at quarterback. Let's get to work building this roster. And that's the difference between last year. Last year was like, Will Levis, maybe he had some flashes, and it quickly fell apart there, right? Obviously. Cam Ward, I think, gives them a hope for the future. And I think he's going to play like that. He has played well everywhere he's gone. I like the fact that he was in 3 different programs in college and succeeded in all of them. He's kind of from a 0-star recruit to the number 1 pick of the draft. I like that path for him. He's already been on the bottom. He's dragged himself to be, the first pick of the NFL draft. So that's the one thing. The Titans roster really is not good. They're a pretty boring team. Trust me. I've already written the preview. It's not that exciting for the Tennessee Titans, except at quarterback, where I think that we're going to feel pretty good about the trajectory of the Titans going forward because of that one dude. I think Cam Ward's going to have a really nice rookie season.
Another guy, I thought, real quick, one other thing too with the Titans, and I only bring this up because somebody said it to me the other day. They were talking about like the Titans draft and a couple of different teams drafts or whatever. And it was another personnel man, and he really liked the Texas tight end they drafted, Gunnar Helm. Like he was man, he's like, I think they might have actually gotten a dude, and people are going to be stunned that guy's going to end up being a really great tight end in the NFL. And I don't know why that just stuck out in my mind. So maybe it's not just Cam. Maybe it's Cam doing well, but also maybe it's a draft class where you're like, okay, they got a good draft class under their belt. Like, this is how you do it. This is how you start to build that foundation.
By the way, Gunnar Helm, I drafted in one of my fantasy leagues when we did one of our dynasty leagues. I just drafted him.
I can't wait to tell this guy, Fitz.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let him
I know. And now he's going
to
feel reaffirmed. So I thought the Titans were going to be a top 3 pick in the draft last year. I thought they were going to suck. I am in repeat on the Titans. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that I should have a ton of faith in Callahan. And if we're just being honest, you're right, Frank. It's not a great roster. It wasn't a great roster sometimes when Vrabel just bootstrapped them and they still won football games. I just don't have proof of concept at the head coaching position. I think the most likely solution, I would take the under right now on the Titans. I think a new coach next year from the now new GM is coaching Cam Ward. I still think Cam Ward has a shot to be a very good player in this league. I hope he is, but I think it's going to be a different regime that brings him along. Sorry, Titans fans. What about the Colts? 7.5 is the over/under. They went 8-9 last year. Frank, I thought the Colts were going to suck last year. So
7.5?
Yes,
is
7.5.
Oh my God, 7.5? What is Vegas on, man?
Charles booking a flight to Nevada right now.
Oh my God. That is a big number for how.
So where are you on the rise, repeat, retreat then, C-Rob?
I mean, how many games did they win last year? Retreat.
8-9, yeah.
They actually won 8 games last year. Like somehow they were not that bad.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I guess in my mind, this gets probably painted over with just my feelings about Anthony Richardson and just what a mess that was. And so maybe I am not giving the proper consideration to the overall roster and what it can do with a competent quarterback. Just a competent, like not a good quarterback, not a bad quarterback, just a guy who comes in and can put up a 3,000 yard, 24 touchdown passing season, but not, he completes 40% of his passes. He completes 38% of his passes. He completes 47% of his passes from one week to the next, or tap himself out of the game, God forbid. Maybe I am not giving enough consideration to that, but I'm stunned by that. But I will admit this. I think they retreat, but I think a lot of that is driven by my feelings that Richardson was just such a mess this year, and I want that resolved before the season starts. I want Daniel Jones to be their starting quarterback next season, and I think it needs to be resolved before the season starts.
Wow. Just for the reason you said, I'm in retreat on the Colts because a year ago we were like, man, Anthony Richardson, yeah, he only played 180 some snaps, but look at how good he was per play in this highlight and that throw and this, and he's going to get better. And he did not get better. And now it's like, you need to overpay Daniel Jones. What a sad statement that is, to come in and compete with your supposed savior quarterback, the number 4 overall pick a couple of years ago, and probably Daniel Jones. Unless Anthony Richardson takes a pretty significant leap. I mean, we're talking about he needs to add on 15 percentage points to his completion percentage to just be a relevant quarterback. Like, it was bad last year. It was really, really bad. So probably Daniel Jones is our quarterback on opening day, and that's not good. That's just not what you want if you're the Indianapolis Colts. So I just think, even though, they weren't as bad as we remember last year, again, 8-9, they were actually competitive for most of the year, but the trajectory of the franchise right now is just not good. I don't think.
What if Daniel Jones is Ryan Tannehill going to the Titans?
That's all I'm saying. Like, Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones together, I'm not out on this, guys. Like, I don't think it's great, but I think it's at least okay. Like, I'm actually higher on the Colts today than I was.
All of a sudden, Tyler Warren comes alive.
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad point. Like, it could be. Like, we've seen Daniel Jones play okay for some stretches. But I just think overall, when your answer is, well, Daniel Jones is going to save the offense, it's not really a great situation, is it?
I just remember feeling that way about Tennessee, man, when they went and got Tannehill. I remember feeling that way. Because remember, it was like Mariota. They're like, oh, okay, this is kind of it. Like, either Marcus breaks through this year or it's done. We did everything we could. Kind of feels the same way. Richardson, either he breaks through this year or he's done. We've got this other guy who is a good athlete, by the way. Tannehill is a good athlete.
Mm-hmm. Receiver in college.
Good offensive coordinator as your head coach, right? So I felt the same way, though, where I was like, I remember Tannehill, I'm like, I don't know, Tannehill, come on. That guy's kind of proven. It's pretty mediocre. There's not really much there and then I was wrong. Like, he turned out to be a good, decent quarterback with a second shot at it. And, maybe that's ultimately what happens with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think the Colts won 8 games last year with terrible quarterback play. Daniel Jones is going to give them better than terrible quarterback play. I actually think the Colts could sneak up on some people this year. I'm a rise on the Colts.
Yeah, you guys are kind of changing my mind.
Look at that. What about the Texans? Obviously, the cream of the crop in this just trash division. They went 10-7 last year. Over/under on it is 9.5 this year. Rise, repeat, or retreat, Frank, from where you were a year ago on the Texans. How do you feel now? A year ago, pretty hyped on C.J. Stroud being, the second coming and the next Dan Marino, and there we go. He still had a very good year, but still, where are we now?
Easy retreat. I thought that over the second half of last season, the Texans were a pretty bad football team, and we forget that because they won they got into the playoffs, won the playoff game, competed against the Chiefs. So maybe they found something late in the year, but there was a stretch of about 2 months where you're just like, this is not a good team. And everything kind of fell apart for CJ Stroud last year. And I don't blame it all on him, by the way. Their offensive line was a mess. Well, their offensive line is still a mess. And the receiving situation, which we loved last year, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. Well, Stephon Diggs is gone. Tank Dell, we don't know if we're going to see him this year. Replaced by a couple of rookies. Good looking rookies. They might, show out. But I just don't see how the Texans are better this year. I do trust the coaching staff. I really do like the coaching. I like DeMeco Ryans a lot. I like CJ Stroud's talent a lot. I just don't like the infrastructure there. Don't like the way they played late in the season. I just don't think this is... A year ago, we were talking CJ Stroud for MVP, Super Bowl contender, blah, blah, blah. We got too over our skis with that. Me personally, I did. I know that. And I'm kind of taking a step back with them and saying, I don't think this Texas team is really that good. I think they're going to need another offseason to fix some of their offensive problems before they can get back on that track where we really feel like, the Texans are coming. The Texans are going to be a Super Bowl contender. I think they're going to need another offseason to fix some of their issues.
I think, like you said, the wide receivers now heading into this season are far more unpredictable compared to last season when we knew Stephon Diggs was going to be on the field. We knew Tank Dell was going to be on the field and Nico Collins was going to be there. I was with you. I was flying high on them. I was like, there could be an MVP season for CJ Stroud in year 2. I did not foresee the offensive line just completely falling apart the way that it did and him getting pounded. I I don't blame everything on him. I think, look, like Bobby Slowick gets fired as offensive coordinator. Clearly, I think DeMeco Ryans did not feel like Bobby Slowick adapted his play calling or the offense down the stretch to augment for what was going on with that offensive line. It just kind of ran it the way it was going to run, and it fell apart. I think it's a retreat because I look at a team that wholesale changes on the offensive line, and I have no clue whether or not that's going to, fix the problem. And it's just very uncertain at the skill positions beyond Nico Collins, and not having any idea whether that offensive line can protect CJ Stroud, whose play definitely decayed as he got hit over the course of last season. So to me, I don't think they make 10-7 this year. I think they're short of that.
Yeah, I agree. So we've now gone through. See, Rob, you have my word. Next time, we'll get you a better division. All right. And you only have my word because we've already gone through the 2 junkiest divisions in the NFL. So it can only go up from here. No matter what, it can only go up from here. Follow us all on social media. By the way, if you've listened this far, be sure to rate, review, subscribe. Means a lot for us. Tell your friends and family and enemies and everybody to hang out with us every single week. We're not going anywhere just because it's the off season. We're still with you every single Tuesday. So be sure you're checking us out. We'll keep getting you updated on the rest of the divisions as the summer goes on. And one thing we're always sure of, news always breaks, and we're always here to cover it. So we appreciate you taking the time to listen to Inside Coverage. Have a great week.